Ladies and gentlemen, it is that time again. 427. Welcome to the Mike Stand Show, Legalized nationwide. We're glad you tuned in today. We've got a lot to talk about today, so we're going to get right to it. We're very happy to have each one of you here. And today our show is, we're going to be talking about legalizing marijuana. And with the legalization of marijuana, can it save our Social Security Department? You know, we hear a lot of things about Social Security and how it's running out of money. Well, I think we have found a fix. So my answer to that question is yes, I do believe we can save Social Security by legalizing marijuana, and we are going to explain. Today I have in the studio with me, I have Banner James back with me again today. Welcome back, sir. How are you?
Glad to be here, Mike.
All right, man. I'm glad to have you back, too. How's everything happening down there in Mississippi? You doing okay down there? And
everything's great. The weather's beautiful, and I'm ready to talk about this great idea.
Well, I tell you, it is something that I feel like is a phenomenal thing to talk about. We were discussing this in length about how marijuana legalized in America can save our Social Security Department. Well, that's going to come under three folds, actually. We're already getting tweets in right now, I'm glad to see, but that's going to cover three folds, actually. You know, research is done, and we have a couple different researches here and surveys, but, you know, a lot of the, I call them the bean counters, they've said that with legalization of marijuana in the United States, you're looking between $37 billion more in taxes that the federal government will have to work with because of legalization of marijuana. Well, my proposal is very simple. Now, there are some that have actually said in 10 years it could be $75 billion, and I do agree with that. The way we save our Social Security is that with that $37 billion, if we break that in half, that tax, and $18 billion goes into our Social Security funds. I don't care if they're, like they do now, if they're investing in the treasury bills or government bonds, as long as the money stays in Social Security. It's not being borrowed from to pay for this off, to pay for this. Well, another $18 billion we can actually put into infrastructure. And with putting into infrastructure, that's going to mean that, hey, we need good, solid help in this country. So what we do is with the infrastructure, we have another $1 billion left over there. That can be towards payroll to bring people out of welfare. Now, let me tell you something. I can't blame people for staying on welfare when they can't go out and get a job at $7.25 an hour and make less than they do on welfare. I can't say I blame them for staying at home. But there's many of those folks that would love to have a good paying job where they're making good money and they can put a good roof over their family's head, put food on the table, send their kids to school, buy clothes, and you know, that would be a great way for us to get our infrastructure done at the same time by giving the jobs within the structures of like our inner cities or in cities where there aren't good jobs in some of your smaller communities. So there's $1 billion in wages that we can pay for them to come and start working and doing our infrastructure. So as I see it, with the legalization of marijuana, there are three entities right there that we have just really showed that could really affect in a positive way with taxation of marijuana. What do you say about that, Mr. James?
I say the sooner the better.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, you know, it's not a really complex thing. It's pretty simple. I mean, and I know when politicians always love to make things seem like it's very hard to do. Well, we have to go through this procedure. We have to go through this procedure. No, really all you have to do is get up there and vote and say, this is how it's going to be done. Y'all are the lawmakers. Y'all are the people up there that are there to create the laws, to get the laws that pass that are going to help this country. And those are some laws right there that would actually really help. And I think we should see legislation on this. It's amazing that, I've looked at a lot of reasons why, why a lot of people don't want to see, I shouldn't say a lot of people, a very minor amount of people that don't want to see legalization of marijuana. And we touched on that very heavily last week in our very first show. Now, we did not have a lot of viewership, but I want to tell you something. The views that we did have on our first show, it really started opening up a lot of doors. Now, do you call it a coincidence that 5 days after our first show, the Mike Stand Show, Legalized Nationwide, all of a sudden, Mr. Jeff Sessions is in front of Congress and they're talking about legalization of marijuana. And he actually made the statement after venomously being against it. He actually stated, he goes, well, the research shows that there are some good positive things about medical marijuana. Now, he backed off a little bit when they asked him the question about, well, can it, is it a better alternative than opioid drugs, painkillers and antidepressants and so forth? And he kind of backed off that a little bit and said, well, there's not enough science to talk. He said, I think we need better science on it, but I'm open to the study of the plant.
The legal states have already done a lot of science.
Absolutely. And now we talked about last week some of the Ivy League colleges that are coming into Pennsylvania and studying the plant, and we've seen a lot of good things on this, a whole lot of good things. But what surprises me, and I don't think this is a coincidence, but after 5 days after the show, and honestly, we slammed Mr. Sessions pretty hard last week, but I think he's a pretty tough-skinned guy, and I think he's okay, and I think he will be okay, but we slammed him pretty hard.
My name is Jeff.
And and I think we brought a valid point to the table, because 5 days after that, there he is speaking out, actually saying, okay, maybe it is best for the states to make their own decision what's best for them. Last time I read, that is our 10th Amendment right as a state, that we have the right to do what's best for us.
That's correct. Maybe Mr. Trump was monitoring our show and said, Jeff, I like these boys.
Yeah, well, hey, all I can say to that is...
And his name is Donald Trump.
Got to say I can appreciate that very much, because his name is Donald Trump, and he is the president of this great country.
And Mike, don't forget a little shout out here. I want to personally say, great job, Senator Schumer in New York.
That was going to be brought up, and I tell you, man, I do salute the man. I don't always agree with everything that he tells you, but I want to read off, because it's funny you bring him up, because I actually got some tweets from Mr. Schumer, and I was very curious, and he said, I am formally announcing, this was on 420, this was the same day our show started. He said, I am formally announcing my plan to decriminalize marijuana at the federal level. It's time we allow states, once and for all, to have the power to decide what works best for them. Okay, there's our 10th Amendment being spoken right there. Later in another tweet, the time has come to decriminalize marijuana. My thinking, as well as the general population's view on the issue, has evolved. And so I believe there's no better time than the present to get this done. As you just said, sooner than later. Let's do it right now. Well, Mr. Schumer, I don't always agree with everything you say, but sir, here at the Mike Stan Show, we salute you today, and we're very glad that you have that view on it. And I think that being in the stance you are, and the backing that you have in Congress and also in our Senate, that maybe you can get something done on this. I really hope so. Now, I want to talk a little bit, about some of the drug companies out there that are trying to really hold us back from getting legalized marijuana. Let's bring up Eli Lilly first, okay? Now, doctors are being paid a lot of money out there to push drugs, right or wrong?
Shamefully, you're right.
Well, this is how I think. I did some research on this. Out of the 7 top drug manufacturers out there today, okay, 17,000 doctors were paid $100,000 or more for pushing the drugs, for getting the drugs out there. All 7 of these companies used public speaking or consultations. And when I say public speaking, these are forums that no one even showed up to. The doctors stood up there on their own and did consultation to the board of pharmacy, to the people that were in big pharma. There was no other political minds there or scientists. This was just a big company saying, "Hey, we paid them to come and speak." They spoke, and now they're out there pushing the drugs.
Didn't Harrison Ford make a movie about this?
I believe he did. What was
called The Fugitive?
The Fugitive, absolutely.
The premises was evil big pharmacies.
Right. And that's what it is. It is evil big pharmacy. Well, let me run down a little bit here to you. And and Eli Lilly in 2009 and through 2010 spent $144.1 million on marketing their drugs, promoting their drugs.
Those commercials that we see on TV?
Absolutely.
Will they tell you how it's going to kill you talking real fast at the end?
Right. Real fast. I mean, I don't know where they find those people, but they do very well in their speaking. $144.1 million spent to promote a drug. Now, and paying off doctors. GlaxoSmithKline, which they actually declined to be a part of the show, spent $96.4 billion. AstraZeneca spent $22.8 billion.
I thought that was a planet.
Yeah, it kind of sounds like it, don't it? It makes me very angry, very, very angry indeed. Yeah, it sounds like might be that Marvin DeMarsher might be running that. Pfizer, $19.8 billion. Now think about this, okay? $19.8 million spent on advertising to help a man get an erection. That's what Pfizer is known for, is that little blue pill called Viagra. I have nothing against that. I have absolutely nothing against it at all. More power to you.
Smoke some weed and curl up with your honey. You don't need a pill.
I agree. There's another solution right there. Johnson & Johnson, a household name. They put $10.6 million into advertising the drugs that they push. And then Merck & Company, $9.4 million. Now, out of all 7 of those, out of all that, do you know that only one of those companies actually put more money into research than they did into marketing or paying off doctors?
Incredible.
It's shameful, it's absolutely shameful that we do that. Now, between 2007 and 2010, and people wonder why the opioids are such an epidemic and then they're such high dollar. Drug companies had to pay in lawsuits $7 billion between 2007 and 2010.
Mike, didn't you tell me that, because you know more about accounting than I do, that the bean counters had that money for lawsuits figured in already?
It's already figured in, exactly, absolutely. And they already know what they're going to spend in lawsuits. They already know the lawsuits are coming. They prepare themselves. Their lawyers prepare themselves. They already know what's going to be done. And they have a slush fund, I call it. This is what we call our suing money. This is the money these are the lawsuits that we're going to run it through the court as long as we can. We're going to appeal the process. And instead of going through all that, really what they do is they already have the money ready and they go into court, they get sued, let's settle, here's the money. That's a crime in itself, I do believe. But what really pisses me off here, Banner, is that our doctors are the biggest drug dealers in the world. Eli Lilly, the largest company out there, they're in 125 different countries. That's a lot of countries to be peddling your drugs in. You know, I mean,
it is peddling.
That's exactly what it is. They are peddling something that they know very little about. They just know that people are going to get addicted to it, and they're going to have to continually keep buying it and buying it and buying it and buying it. And when you look, when they add this in, where do you think that lawsuit money comes from? It comes from a high level of over-gouging the market with their pills that they're dealing out to pay for these lawsuits. How can they stop it? It's very simple. Research your doctor. Know who you're going to. And know what they're giving you.
I've tried that. They're all doing it.
Every single one.
And they're destroying lives. Marijuana's really not habit forming. It's up to you whether you smoke it or not. I've gone months. I've actually gone up to 13 months consecutive without smoking. I wasn't breaking in homes to get marijuana money or search for marijuana. But people that get hooked on these opioids, not only dropping like flies, dying, a lot of them. I had a friend that said there was a guy with tattoos all over him looking to break in his house. I know what that's over. It's over. These pills cost $80 to $100 a day once you get hooked and can't get the prescription from your doctor. So people are stealing TVs, breaking in homes, stealing TVs, selling them at the pawn shop. to try to get that $80 to $100 that they need to buy one pill a day. Most of them need 2 to 3 pills a day. Sorry to interrupt, Mike. I'm just passionate about this. It's insanity.
It is, man. No, and you're not interrupting. Man, I love what you're having to say, because it pisses me off too that our politicians are up there trying to explain to us why it shouldn't be legal, while they're patting their pocket with the doctors and the pharmaceutical companies patting their pocket for them, and they're the ones that are actually the drug dealers in this country. Someone that smokes marijuana is not, like we said last week, I don't think someone that sells marijuana or grows marijuana is a drug dealer. They're a florist.
Yeah.
They're growing a flower. It's funny because I was speaking with a very good friend of mine yesterday on the phone. He lives down in Mississippi also. His an up-and-coming, up-and-rising country music star. His name's 40 Hayes. I hope you don't mind me mentioning your name out there, but really, really great singer. He's going to be doing great things in the country music industry. I have no doubt about it. But he said the same thing that we were talking about. It's a plant that grows in the dirt. God put it here when he created the earth. This is a plant. Now, is it a plant that's used for medical? Well, if that's what you want to call it, that's fine. But there again, I don't think there needs to be a label on it. Because let me explain to you what happens when you go see a doctor to get a green card. You go in, you ask a couple of questions. They take your blood pressure, they take your heart rate, and then you say, "Hey, I've got a torn fingernail." Boom. For 1 year, you don't have to go back to that doctor again to pay for a medical card to be able to get marijuana. He sees you one time and he talks to you maybe for about 10 minutes at the most. I was there. I went through it in Colorado when they first came out with medical marijuana. I went and got my green card. I went and went through the whole process of getting legal to be able to smoke it. In Montana, same thing. When I was there and I was being treated for my colon cancer. Okay? Like I said last week, I used marijuana as treatment instead of using the pain pills and the opioids that they wanted to put me on. I chose marijuana. Luckily, I had a wonderful Asian doctor that told me, he said, good choice. He said, that's what I would use. He said, because it's going to buffer the sickness. It's going to buffer the fatigue. He said, you're going to feel better.
Well, the Chinese are historically all about natural medicine.
Absolutely. And you see, a lot of people don't know is that's actually where marijuana was introduced, was in China. And then it moved over to India. And then it went over into Europe. And then it came over to our country. And it took a long time. But there again, as we talked about last week,
and the Chinese have done pretty good with that natural stuff too.
Done very well with it, and I was reading that, and we bring up the natural medications. It's funny that, the FDA doesn't really care. They put the consequences on the company. They say it's up to them to research the products they're putting out there because they're natural. Okay, they come up out of the ground. They're grown. These are natural medications that people use, whether it be ginseng or lobelia, which is an Indian tobacco, which has showed worse side effects than actually smoking the tobacco. And then you look at, all these other products that they use to put into their natural medication, and it's working for a lot of people. So if the FDA can keep their nose out of natural vitamins that people take every single day, why do they need to stick their nose into another plant called marijuana that grows up out of the ground? I don't understand.
I'm speechless.
It does. It makes you speechless. Now, I'm very amazed, though, that 5 days, let's get back to the 5 days after our first show, Jeff Sessions is coming around. He's actually coming around. So I'm very proud that we did reach out and say, hey, listen to the show. Because obviously we had a lot of people listening to the show. I got tweets from Chuck Schumer himself stating what he's going to do. I'm very proud. I don't agree with everything he said, but that is one thing I truly agree with him. I don't think someone needs to be put in jail because they have a quarter ounce of weed sitting at their house and they're smoking pot in their house. I don't think we need to be spending our tax dollars on putting those people in jail. They're not hurting anybody. And it kind of ticks me off. I'll tell you what else ticks me off, too. We're going to be speaking about this on next week's show. And, Mr. Huckabee, this goes out to you, sir. I've always been a big admirer of yours, but I've been kind of getting a little pissed off at you lately because you've been really downgrading the pot smokers in this country. You call all of our millennials out there, you say they are living in their parents' basement smoking pot. Why do you have to categorize them as living in their parents' basement and smoking pot? The last time I looked, when Jesus walked this earth, he was a loving, compassionate person. He loved humanity. He even died for humanity. But here's a man that professes to be a conservative Christian, but he is belittling people because they smoke pot.
And Jesus' Father, the Creator, put all the plants here at one time when he created whatever time he took to do it. A day to him is like 1,000 years. So Jesus' Father put the plant here. Mr. Huckabee, don't be such a hypocrite.
Yeah, just be quiet. Just shut up. Because, there again, get on board because, we got 327 million people in the U.S. 84% say legalize. That's like, 272 million people that are saying legalize. The politicians, they need to quit worrying about who is paying for their election. They're bought and paid for. They have to stop worrying about that because the American people are getting very smart. And when I say the American people, I'm also talking about our millennials. These are our future. These are the people that are going to be running our country soon. It's time for people like that to get out of office that have made a career out of being a politician. They need to get out of office and let the new breed come in and take over and run this country. Hey, other great news. My producer is pointing out something here too. Oh, this is great news. Mitch McConnell. I know he's your favorite guy, so I hate to bring him up. I see your face turning red already, but we're going to bring him up anyways. Mitch McConnell is now making legislation to legalize hemp. It's about time. You see, this is coming after just days after our first show.
Excuse me, Mike, I fell off my chair. Wait till I get back up.
It almost made me fall too when I heard this, and now my producer has let me know that yes, it's true. He really did make that statement, and I love that. And I think people are saying, I think we had a lot of people that were very important that listened to our show last week and said, these guys are making a lot of sense. It's true. And we are one of the very few shows out there that are actually getting the truth out to the people. And I think we ought to take a moment to explain. Number one, we don't take contributions. We don't have sponsorship. I turned it down. We do this. We fund this show on our own. And we are proud to be the voice of the American people. We don't do this for recognition. We don't do this because we hope to go out and get laid tonight because some beautiful female heard us on the show. I can only speak for myself on that, but and we don't do it because we want to be on a book tour, and we don't do it because we just want to sit down in our parents' basement and smoke pot and get high all day and listen to vinyl records.
You know why I do it?
Please.
I suffer from migraine headaches. It's not every day, but when you get them, it's 3 or 4, 5 days of absolute misery. Marijuana, about 3 nice inhaling hits of marijuana, and it's gone for a solid 2 weeks. No pain in the brain. That's all I want, folks.
I agree with you 100%. And I never talk about. I do talk a little bit about them. Last week we talked about MSNBC and Rachel Madcow and Chris Big Mouth Matthews and Fox News Sean Never Shut Up Hannity. We've talked about a few of them, but I want to tell you something. Another salute out there, and I'm really amazed that I'm doing this. My salute goes out to CNN. Obviously, somebody from there, because I invited them to listen to the show, must have listened to the show.
Sunday night.
Yes, with their resources and everything, all of a sudden they have a show coming on Sunday night. Pills versus pot.
Way to go, Ted. I love TMC, but I'm really proud of you on this one.
Yeah, I'm very proud of it too, because it's about time that they're focusing and listening to people like us that are telling you this is what America wants. This is what the people want. We are the majority. So let us have it. Let us have it. I don't recall when prohibition was lifted on alcohol that became, well, we're going to have medical alcohol for you. No, they did it because people wanted to use it recreational. Well, that's what I know. You want to use it for your migraines. Me, I just simply want to come home and sit down and smoke a joint and watch my TV, pour me up a glass of Coke and sit and pop some popcorn. I don't see anything wrong with that. I work every day. I own a company on top of this that I run on a daily basis. But I'm taking time away from a company that makes me money because the American people, like myself, I am one of that 84% that wants to see marijuana legal. It's a great thing. And here's another one. Don Bonagino. I love the guy. NRA TV. Please check him out, guys. You're going to love him. But I have my own little personal Twitter wars, and I had brought up, to the Democrats that, hey, it looks like your blue wave is now becoming just a little ripple in a blue pond. The very next day, and I often say, somebody that imitates you is the greatest form of flattery in the world. And as Ric Flair was once say, often imitated but never duplicated. And I like to think of myself that way, that many might try to imitate me, but they'll never duplicate me. And he actually brought up a point that the blue wave is now looking like a little puddle. Well, I tweeted him back and said, I said it first. And then LOL. No, I was actually very honored that I feel like, hey, he saw this, he heard it, and how he's used it. Well, that's what I want people to do with this show. I want them to say, Banner James and Mike Stand are doing something great. I want you following me on Twitter. You can get to me. You can also follow our show on YouTube, the Mike Stand Show, legalized nationwide. It's very important. And we definitely want you next week to tune into the show. We are going to be talking about something that's really probably going to freak a lot of you out. We're going to look at the Christian's view on legalizing marijuana in this country. Because out of 272 million people, I'm pretty sure that some of those are devout Christians.
I would say a significant number.
A significant number. So
it's going to be a good show, Mike.
It's going to be a great show, and I tell you, this is about a 20, 30-minute show that we do on a weekly basis. It comes on every Friday at 4:20 p.m., and we want you to tune in. And look, guys, when you do hit us up on our YouTube channel, please log into YouTube and hit subscribe. That's the way that we keep the show going.
And leave a comment, negative or positive.
Absolutely. Well, we want to hear from you. We want to know what you have to say. So next week, join in with us as we bring to you the Christian view on legalization of marijuana. Banner, again, thank you, sir, for being here today. I appreciate it, man. It's another great show. I hope that that our audience is taking what we've said and they're going to run with it. I'm sure my Twitter will be blowing up pretty much just like it did after our last show. Again, special thanks out to Mr. Chuck Schumer. Thank you, sir. We appreciate you identifying decriminalizing marijuana. Appreciate that very much. And also CNN. Thank you for bringing on an informative show Sunday night about pills versus pot.
Yeah, y'all be sure to watch that now.
Absolutely. Please watch it. And I hate to say that, but please watch it, even though it is on CNN. But once again, guys, we want to thank you for being here with us. And we look forward to you next week showing up with us. And we're going to get this thing started once again. Y'all have a blessed weekend. Enjoy yourself and always be responsible.
Good job, Mike.